Hey Matt, how are you today?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing well. Matt, you're in the industry for so many years, doing a lot of things, but I see you're very focused on the variety of digital transformation, focused on AI, also some research group. You work both on the agency side and also on the brand side. So for the listeners who don't know you, maybe we'll start with a quick intro about you and what are you doing these days.
Sure. So my name is Matt Ezyk. I'm currently the director of e-commerce at Pet Supermarket. Pet Supermarket's the largest small format pet retailer in the United States. So we have about 230 stores, just shy of that. Been around for 51 years. And my role is to lead the e-commerce business and all of our marketplace businesses. So we're currently in Instacart and DoorDash, and any kind of future marketplaces that we have in the future that we'll build out. Um, my career has been in e-commerce. I spent most of my career on the agency side, so working with mainly Salesforce, Commerce Cloud, and Marketing Cloud back when it was Demandware and Exact Target.
Yeah,
And I've about 2 years ago made the transition over to the brand side from agency, and so the experience has been interesting. And it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it a lot.
nice. You mentioned Salesforce. How do you see Salesforce in the market, currently, these days,
Yeah,
2024? How do you see the competitive scenario around Salesforce architecture?
there is a lot of competition, and it's become um, really interesting, especially this year. You see Shopify going up market into an
Yeah.
enterprise, and then you see companies like Commerce Tools that are in the enterprise starting to get the top of the Salesforce market. So it'll be interesting to see how they pivot this year to combat
Hmm.
that. I would expect that they would. They definitely have a great product, and they're continuing to innovate. But I mean, there's definitely a lot of competition, and I think that's good for brands, right? It gives them a lot of options.
What are the things that you're working on? I mean, during these days. I mean, it's mostly the Omnichannel. Is it mostly the platform itself? What are some of the challenges that you're facing?
Yeah, so we focused a lot last year on becoming Omni, right? We were really in its infancy when I joined, and then when my partner in the IT side joined, which was in the 2022. So that was really our first goal, is to become more Omni, um, build out a great BOPIS experience for our customers, ship from store, all those different strategies that
Mhm.
really are table stakes now with an omnichannel retailer. Uh, but now it's really dialing it up and figuring out how we can service our customers better, get them what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. So that's looking at AI, obviously. How can we show customers different products that complement the ones they're looking at better, right? We've been doing that in e-commerce for the last decade with predictive AI, but the generative piece is so new, and there's so
Mhm.
many technologies that are using that can really build out great experiences for our customers, and that's what I'm really focused on.
Yes. So obviously, a lot of brands, I mean, companies are experimenting with AI, but it seems that most of the use cases are not yet ready for prime time. So maybe on the customer support side, or maybe chatbots are really mature enough to provide some real performance. What are your thoughts? I mean, what are the use cases that you see are relevant this year?
Yeah, so the an easy way to get started is, like you mentioned, a chatbot for like Wismo orders,
Hmm.
order you know requests from customers, but also an easy way to get started as well is for product descriptions, right? Like we do that here. We use generative AI to really fast track getting our products onto the e-commerce site by using generative AI to build out product descriptions that are SEO friendly, show the features and benefits of the products that we sell. So those are really two basic ways I think any company could get started with that now. Most of the platforms have a lot of that functionality. The more advanced things I see in e-commerce with generative AI is product recommendations, um, discovering intent of the customers that you have, right? Like, you can actually segment based on that. So if you know a customer is has more intent to purchase, and sometimes they can do that by how many clicks there are into the purchase path.
Hmm.
You can give them a richer deal to push them over the edge to convert. Conversely, you could save your better or richer deals for customers that are more top of funnel. So it gives a lot of interesting flexibility that you can mold your strategy with.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. And you mentioned omnichannel and using data to segment and identify intent. And obviously, from my discussion with a lot of brands, I mean, the attribution part is quite complex, right? It's very difficult, definitely in an omnichannel scenario,
Mm-hmm.
quite challenging to understand, where journeys are started, and how purchases are really, originated from and how they started. How do you see attribution on an omnichannel scenario? I mean, for pet supermarket, and are you have what is the level of clarity that you have of what's really going on in terms of customer behaviors?
It's definitely something we need to improve,
Yeah,
and it's challenging for sure. But we're using the new tools that are available, and some of the vendors we're already using are implementing um, a lot of AI tools into their products that can help us understand customer behavior, really put ourselves in the shoes of the customer, so to speak, to figure out
yeah,
where they're seeing frustrations. Because we all know that in e-commerce, it's not like a store, right? Like if you have an issue with a store, you may talk to somebody there and ask a question, but it's very easy to click that browser window off and go somewhere else. So
yeah,
while we do, have feedback from customers and we're looking for ways to improve the or make it easier for customers to give us feedback, the reality is that most of the time they're just going to go shop somewhere else if they encounter a bad experience. Um, so we're really in tune with trying to understand where we're seeing friction and how we can continue
yeah.
to remove it.
So you try to adapt, like being agile and adapt quickly for any piece of data that you get or any customer requirement. You reviewing customer support tickets, or you have your own methodology and you have your own understanding of how journeys should look like. Where are you in this spectrum?
It's I think what you mentioned is probably the bulk of it, right? Like we not only have reviews with customer service and listen to calls and do calibration calls with our customer service, but we also look at our KPIs, right? The main KPIs that every e-commerce business would measure, like besides revenue, you're looking at conversion, abandonment, AOV,
Yeah,
traffic, right? When you see trends with those that are up or down, something is changing. And you can also correlate that to when you're making changes to the code base, when you're making changes to the content. So we really try to follow a strict agile process of delivery with that. So we can always go back and look and see, okay, we've seen traffic um, spike. Like what changed?
mhm,
We've seen abandonment spike. More importantly, what changed? And then try to really drill into um, the different sessions that customers are having. Like we have tools that you can go in and watch sessions. You can segment the sessions based on different errors that you see. That helps us really be
nice,
proactive and figuring out like what that issue may be.
nice. And in terms of offline versus online, do you have like any specific targets to migrate users from online to offline or vice versa, or you just want to leverage and be successful in any of those channels, regardless of any influence between one another?
Yeah, I think it's the latter, right? Like the customer behavior, I think across all e-commerce businesses and omni businesses has changed,
Hmm.
and it's really you're seeing customers move in between channels pretty fluidly now, and sometimes they're. I think I read a statistic recently. They're a modern customer in 2024 typically will move in between three channels, right? And some of these retailers may not even be playing in that space that their customers want to buy
Hmm.
from, right? So that's why we're continuing to evaluate, where do we what channels do we want to play in? Does it even make sense? Is it profitable? But really, it's just giving the customer more options, right?
Yeah.
Um, in our space in pet, there is a lot of compelling reasons for a customer to want to go into a store. Um, which I, as a digital leader, I totally support that, right? I want our customers to, especially if they own a dog, to come into our store and go look at treats, toys. Maybe like I personally like to have my dog go and pick out a toy when it's like his birthday or just because. We have grooming salons in our stores. We have dog washes, right? There's a lot of compelling reasons as a dog owner that you'd want to go into the store. But now we're looking to fill in the gaps, right? Like maybe you want to put your food on auto ship and have it delivered so you don't want to think about it, right? You're going to need the food anyway. Find a cadence that makes sense based on your dog's needs and just have that automatically delivered where you don't have to think about it, right? That's an example. Um, if you're in a pinch and you need a supply or food, we make it easy for you to buy it so you can pick up in store or have someone deliver to you in a couple hours, right? It's just adding convenience, adding more channels, really making it as easy as possible for a customer to enter our ecosystem and stay in it.
Yeah, obviously going offline and it's adding an extra layer of like experience, right? So getting some
Correct.
emotional connection to the between yourself and your future customers, and I think it's very very important. It's something that I really appreciate. That you're putting a lot of focus, and as a digital leader, you're not trying to push customers right to come,
Right.
and purchase online. You understand that there is also a lot of value of them, experiencing, the company also on an offline level. In terms of so you operate as a supermarket, right? You have a lot of brands who provide products inside your platform, and you promote that. Purchases and orders are placing on your platform or online or offline. And with the increased focus on profitability, right, this year, obviously the amount of SKUs, are you paying attention and analyzing every product line? Like you have like KPIs per product or per brand, and try to analyze whether to increase SKUs or decrease? Is it any of the focus for you also?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Mhm.
think every retailer like us is in the same boat.
Yeah.
We definitely have some SKUs that are challenging to sell online from a profitability perspective, and we're continuously trying to evaluate that to make sense, see if it even makes sense to sell them online. If not, we have our same day delivery partners. We have BOPIS, right? We have lots of options for a customer to go pick it up in the store.
Yep.
Just some of them don't make sense to sell online. They're very difficult. Like for example, um, large fish tanks, right? Very challenging to, to sell online and
Mm.
ship. I know some companies do it. It's expensive. It's that you run the risk of breaking it, right? So we're in the same boat as a lot of retailers, right? There's just really trying to dial that in to make
Yes.
our transactions as profitable as possible.
Yes. So as more and more retailers and brands are looking to more deep dive into their profitability, so there is a larger focus on operational excellence, like
Hmm.
right, going back to basics, and the devil is in the details. I try to analyze everything from supply chain to customer acquisition, right? And you have a lot of digital transformation experiences, and during this stage of zooming in and trying to analyze what's happening with your business, I'm not talking about pet supermarket, but in general, from
Hmm.
your experience, what are some of the tips or some of the key, you know, insights that you can provide within those digital transformation, initiatives?
Yeah. So digital transformation initiatives are tricky, right? They require a lot of people, a lot of process. It's really important to have the right people and the right process before you even start it. I've seen and I've been a part of a lot of digital transformation projects that I had to pick up or my team had to pick up midway to finish it because they were just kind of going off the rails, right?
Hmm.
Um, so
Why they are going off the rails? What are the
uh,
reasons?
it's really like I mentioned, people and process, right? Like there's been situations where a company could, have a team that's just too junior and doesn't know the intricacies of building the
Hmm.
product. But mostly it's the process, right? You need a dialed in process of delivery in order to succeed, and that is really boiled down to all the different phases that you have in your project and gating those phases, right? So when you get to a certain gate, you're going through an entire checklist to make sure you have everything buttoned up before you move to the next phase. Um, and I think there's also sometimes the sales teams in these companies get over their skis a little bit and might promise a delivery date that um, is really predicated on them winning the deal or not. Then they have to send it to the delivery team to hit a date where
Yeah.
really they should be working backwards from that and not working backwards, I should say. They should see, okay, what is the scope of what we're trying to build, and then selecting a date based on what's realistic from that. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of companies get in trouble with doing that and saying, we need this done by June 1st, and they don't even know the scope of the project. So how could they say, yes, we could do it, right?
Yeah. How the scope of the project is really defined, because what I see, I mean, everything is changing so fast, right? Technology platforms, marketing channels, supply chain, 3PLs, I mean, all these RFPs.
Mhm.
How do you know how to develop a, the right scope of work for the digital transformation project? How do
I
you define those KPIs? Because they're
Yeah,
changing.
I typically take the MVP approach, the minimum viable product, right? So
Mhm.
what are we going to get the most use out of at a baseline, and then how can we iterate and build from there? There's
Nice.
always, for most digital transformation technology projects, it's usually valuable to get live and get the benefit from it, and then figure out a phased approach of how you can deliver the rest of the features that will enhance it. Um, I think if you take on too much all at once, it can be really challenging, problematic,
Yeah.
and sometimes really tough to deliver.
So it's better done than perfect, right? Get this MVP out there, get some feedback, iterate, and
Right.
be agile and quickly customize. So it's like launching a new product, right? To the market. It's kind of a product market fit type of process.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. What are the things that are related to digital transformation that you feel are very important in terms of the process and implementation?
Um, Having a strategy, right? Hope isn't a strategy. You really need to define what that strategy is. Like, why are you doing the project? What are the outcomes that you're looking for? How does that relate to your KPIs, your profitability? But more importantly, how does it relate to benefiting your customer? So you build a bigger customer base that is frequently your business and becoming an evangelist of your brand.
Yeah,
There's, I think a lot of times businesses get into like, oh, I've seen this company do this, or I've been at this company and we did this, and it may not make sense for every company or every brand. So really having a good strategy before you go down the path of like, I'll give you a good example.
yeah.
Um, with you know with Salesforce in particular, right? There's um, just Salesforce core in general. It's it's challenging to use that tool if you don't have the right people in house to do it, because the benefit of Salesforce is that it's infinitely customizable, and even
Mhm.
the acquisitions that they've made with Demandware, Exact Target, Sequotion, Main Street, right, of all their products and commerce,
Yes.
um, they're the same way, right? So you could buy all those tools and they can say, yeah, you could lift conversion and you can make more money when you have this stack. And technically, it could be true. But if you don't have the right people and process in place to manage it and build it correctly, it's just not going to work, right? So I think a lot of companies fall into that trap too. It's like you can't just buy those enterprise tools and think that, okay, my problems are solved, I'm going to make all this money. It's very much the opposite, right?
Yeah.
You
Just the
have the tool
beginning,
set.
right?
You need people deeply understand how to customize it and build it the way that it needs to be for that specific business.
Yeah. Matt, you worked on the SI agency side, and also you're obviously on the brand side. And I
Mhm.
want to ask you, where do you had more fun?
Um, it's it's a little bit of both, right?
Okay, good.
There's good and bad to both, right?
Yeah.
I think the fun part of the agency side is that it's really dynamic. You get to work with a lot of different brands and clients, and I spent most of my career working with cosmetic brands and fashion brands, and
Hmm.
you're just a lot of fun products, a lot of fun people to work with. I really enjoyed it. But on on the brand side, it's a little different, and I think it's equally as fun because you get to take I take a lot of the lessons learned in my career and apply it here. And like I said, a lot of that has come from fashion and cosmetics. So it's interesting to do a lot of test and learn type of projects when we've done we do X, Y, and Z at this brand in my career. Let's try it here. Do it a little differently as it relates to pet, and it's super fun to do. And just the pet industry in general is a lot of fun. Like I'm a pet owner myself. I have two dogs, two cats. So I intimately understand the needs of the customer because I am a customer. In fact, I'm probably our ideal customer. I have multiple pets, multiple species. That's the type of customer we want, right? So yeah, it's different on every side, but I think it's equally as enjoyable.
Nice, nice. So you're happy now on the brand side or
Yeah,
supermarket side?
absolutely.
That's a place to be for you right now. Okay, maybe you switch back some point of time. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't rule that out.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, we talked about omnichannel and we talked about variety of offline and offline strategy, and I wanted to have your thoughts on B2B versus D2C because I hear a lot of evolvements on D2C that those platforms are becoming very, very similar to B2B as well, with subscription, different payment terms, things that we've mentioned, right? How do you see the difference in terms of the tech stack, in terms of the qualification, or the platform requirements for B2B versus direct to consumers?
It depends on the customer, right?
Hmm.
Certain B2B customers really flourish in the traditional B2B environment. So I had a customer about 10 years ago in my career, and they wanted to build a B2B business. They sold boots. Their largest customer was the US military.
Hmm.
So you can imagine somebody ordering from the US military, they're not really going to care that much of the style or this or that. I mean, they just know that I have 1,000 new recruits and they need boots, and here's all the sizes I need, and that's it. Uh, or if you're, I worked with a company that sells bath fittings, right? Um, a customer needs a project, they need X, Y, and Z. That's it, right? That's really the use case for B2B.
Hmm.
But you can also where you see the B2C element, D2C elements in B2B is where you have a customer like, for example, I did or led a team that did a project with a fashion retailer, and they wanted to build out something where you could customize the products that they sell for your company. So let's say I wanted to buy 1,000 vests for everybody at Pet Supermarket, just an example. Um, we built out the PDP where you can go on there, you can put the logo in, you can select the style, the type, the color, and then there was a section where you say, okay, I want 500 XLs, and I want 300 smalls, and I want 200 2XLs,
Hmm.
and that's how you see some of the different elements with that are from B2C that are coming into B2B.
Yes.
So it really depends on the brand.
Depends on the brand, and there is a migration, right? Convergence, let's say, maybe it's a better term, right? D2C to B2B and vice versa.
Yeah,
So that's an
I
ongoing, and
think
obviously,
I think the term I heard was B to B to C, which starts
yeah,
to get convoluted, but that's really the use case I'm talking about.
yes, yes, obviously. And so for pet supermarket, you mentioned all these channels. I mean, how do you manage? Do you have like dedicated teams for each one of those channels? Are you using technology to manage that? Because you need to have the inventory synced across all these channels. You need to have the order management lined up. Customer support, marketing efforts. How do you manage all these
Yeah,
different
so as
channels?
we grow, we'll definitely move in the former we mentioned with different um, leaders for each channel, but
Yep.
we're kind of in an infancy with that, so we're growing to that point. But for now, we have automated a lot of our inventory systems and our product systems in Salesforce,
Yep.
where um, we just get SFTP locations, or we do API calls in
Hmm.
most cases, and make real time calls with our inventory position to all these different marketplaces. This was a fairly new product in the Salesforce order management product that we have called Omnichannel Inventory, and we implemented it last year. And the main use case for that is to have real time visibility to all the different channels we have, but also that is what predicated our ship from store strategy, right? So we're um, if you place an order for a leash and a collar and a bag of food for your dog, it's going to look to see which one of our stores in our network has those products that can do a ship complete and put it all in one box and send it. So there's a margin impact piece of that too. But usually what happens is that uh, myself in South Carolina, I don't have any stores near me, but there's probably one an hour and a half away. Typically it will say, okay, that store has what Matt wants. Maybe we can do a ship complete and put it in the same box, and then they send it out. So the result is that myself as a customer, I get it much quicker, usually the next day, actually in this case. And then from a profitability perspective, I won't tell you exactly what the margins are, but you can imagine that shipping a product to a customer that is an hour away versus 10 hours away is going to be
Mhm.
much quicker and less expensive, right?
Yes, yes. Matt, what's some of the industry trends that's worth mentioning?
Oh, there's lots. I mean, I think just AI and personalization are still just so big, and combining the two of them, um, it seems like every AI product around commerce I'm seeing now has some sort of personalization component, right? Like I've seen some where they're building product bundles and on the fly based on like clickstream data and order data and the customer shopping behavior. Those are really two big trends that I don't see going away anytime soon, right? Because you're just looking at the end result, right? The end result is that you should be able to give the customer a better experience, which turns them into an evangelist and keeps them coming back to your store and purchasing. So, um, anything that there's just a lot of noise with technology, with trends, and
Yeah,
I always advise people to just put the customer hat on. Is this going to help the customer, and it's going to make them want to purchase from you and frequent your store more? Probably worth looking at.
yeah, yeah. So obviously AI, right? Personalization. These are the short list for you,
Yes, absolutely.
right? Nice. So Matt, assuming you are now meeting or mentoring, colleagues in the industry that are heading e-commerce for brands and retailers, what are some of the tips you can provide from your experience in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is to build relationships and networking, right? There's two components of that. One is for your career and getting a job, right? The more people you know and the more people you work with that have positive experiences with you, it just casts a wider net for the different opportunities that are out there.
Hmm.
Super important, but also internally when you're working with the teams that are delivering the products and the projects that you have, super important to understand that they have your back, you have their back. And when you're on the SI side with a customer, right, building relationship with a customer and building trust with them, um, super important for delivering a project, because there are times where things kind of come off the rails and don't go as planned, and
Yes,
building that rapport with your teams and your customer are really going to um, lead to better outcomes.
yes.
And
And how
then
do? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think another thing too, and I talk about this on LinkedIn a lot, for non-technical people, like really get in the weeds and learn the product that you're selling in the e-commerce space. I've had some non-technical teams like project managers, right? And I've always required them to go in and learn the backend tool,
Hmm.
learn the architecture conceptually. You don't have to be a person writing code or building the architecture, but you should know conceptually how the system works, and that will show you why a customer wants to do certain things. And then you can speak intelligently about it because you understand it, right? So um, that really is a superpower for project managers, especially. You not only can deliver your projects better and understand them, but you also earn the respect and trust from your customer and from the technical teams that you manage.
Yes. Wow. Great insights. Thank you so much for that. Really interesting. And Matt, what the this is the part of the episode where I ask our guest about a fun fact. So this is the fun fact part for you to share some nice story about yourself that most of your professional network are not aware of.
Yeah, I think a fun fact is like I used to moonlight as a professional musician, as a bass player. So
Wow.
so early on when I was growing up and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, um, I started playing bass at 14 years old and really wanted to make a career out of it doing performance. I quickly realized that it was very challenging to do that. So I pivoted to technology. But
Hmm. Yeah.
when I started working full time remote back about 10 or 11 years ago, I decided to take that up a notch and go out and just do fill in gigs for like really take it like a career, like get my name out there, network,
Wow.
show that I'm dependable. Um,
Yeah.
and then very quickly I was able to kind of do that, and really the same type of thing I was just talking about with a technology career,
Yeah.
and you know go out and make money and build like a little side career for myself, which was and it's something I didn't knew I wasn't going to do forever, but I wanted to do it just to I think appease my inner 14-year-old,
Wow.
and have a lot of great experiences, great stories. I officially retired in 2019, but
Okay.
I still play occasionally. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was a fun ride for sure.
Nice. So how this semi-professional music career help you in your day-to-day job on e-commerce?
Um, that's an interesting question. I think it's the role of the bass player for the musicians listening out there. You probably know this is to like sit back and lock in with the drummer and then not go overboard, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what led to a lot of the work that I used to get is that I'd play the part as it was written and how you're supposed to play it and not overplay. And then you rely on your other team members in whatever band that you're playing to do their part. And as long as everyone is not overdoing it and doing what they're supposed to, the end result's great. Um, and that I think that translates to any job, right?
Nice.
Um, so the role of the bass player is really just sit back, hold the groove down, um, not overplay, and just do your thing and hang back. And that's what I did. That was my style, and it really worked out.
Nice. So it seems like a good methodology for crisis mode, right? Or resolving a
Yeah,
problem. No ego, right? Work as a team, as a symphony, as a band, right?
right.
More together to resolve things. Amazing. Matt, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Likewise, it was a pleasure.
Bye bye. See you soon.
Take care.